Alright, here we go. Answer on this one should be 33. Answer on this one should be 6. Answer is 30. Answer is 0. Answer is 12. Pick a number from 1 to 5. The winning number today is 1. Homework check. We'll do that up here on this iPad. Answers to 1 through 3 are on the screen. Answers to 4 through 6 on the screen. Answers to 7 through 9 on the screen. Questions about homework, that would be yes. Somebody read off problem to me and I'll write it up here. Step 1 is to move the minus 16 to the right, make it positive 16. And then next you have to find half of the middle term. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So add 9 to both sides. Now you're going to make this into a perfect square. So you have a quantity squared. You use the x term, the sign from the middle, and half of the middle number, which is 3. Half of 6 is 3. 16 plus 9 is 25. From there, you need to find the square root of both sides. That leaves you with x plus 3 equals plus or minus 5. And from there, you have to do 2 problems. One is x plus 3 equals positive 5. The other one is x plus 3 equals negative 5. So on this one, you'll have x equals 5 minus 3, which is 2. And on this one, x equals negative 5 minus 3. That is a negative 8. Step 1 is to move the 27 over to the right and make it negative. And then find half of the middle term, which is 12. Half of 12 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And then add 36 to this side. Make a perfect square on the left by using x, the sign from the middle, and half of 12. And then add over here on the right to get 9. Find the square root of both sides. That's an x plus 6. This is plus or minus 3. You have to do 2 problems now. One with x plus 6 equals positive 3, one with x plus 6 equals negative 3. So this one is 3 minus 6 when you solve for it, that's a negative 3. And this one is negative 3 minus 6, that is negative 9. Same thing today, to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square, and it's no different for the learning target, that's pretty specific. So here's an example of what we did yesterday. Start off with the problem x squared plus 10x minus 96 equals 0. What is the first step? Yeah, this will come down, this will come down. What happens to this? Goes over here and becomes positive 96. So there it is. Now, once we have the 96 to the right, what do we do?
10 divided by 2.
10 divided by 2 is 5, and then we do what to it? Square it. And when we square it, then what do we do? Add it to both sides. So what's the next step after that?
So put them in parentheses.
Parentheses, a quantity squared, and what's in that parentheses?
X plus 5.
X plus 5, and then what's on the right side?
Equals plus minus.
Not plus or minus yet.
The square root of 121.
Not yet.
You add 96.
Add 96 and 25 to get what? There it is. Quantity squared of, that should be just not that. There we go. That should just be x plus 5, and then the quantity squared equals 121. Now what do I do?
Square root 121.
Square root of both sides. And when I do that, I'm left with x plus 5 equals plus or minus 11. Now what do I do? Yeah, x plus 5 equals 11, and then x plus 5 equals what? Negative 11. And there it is. You solve them both down to get answers of 6 and negative 16. Practice problem. X squared plus 8x plus 7 equals 0. I need you to bring up the first step. You're going to have to move something somewhere. Just bring up what the result is after you make that movement. This is what it should look like after the first step. You move the 7 to the right, and all of that on the left equals negative 7 when you move it over. Now bring up the next step. You're going to have to find half of something, square it, and add it to both sides. And you should have this, adding 16 to both sides. Now you have to make a perfect square on the left as a quantity, and then simplify the right side. Bring up that step. You have to have your quantity squared on the left of x plus 4, and then on the right you should have 9. Now for the next step, you have to find the square root of both sides, and then write that down. What is the result after you take the square root of both sides? When you find the square root of both sides, it's x plus 4 equals plus or minus 3, and the plus or minus sign must be in there. Now you have two problems to solve. One is x plus 4 equals a positive 3, and x plus 4 equals a negative 3. Solve both of those and bring up the final answers only. Should have x plus 4 equals 3, and when you solve that, that one is x equals a negative 1. You have to move this over to this side and make it minus 4. And then on the right side, move this over, make it minus 4 again, except you have a negative 3 minus 4, which is negative 7. The problem is x squared minus 5x equals negative 24. That's ridiculous. X squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. And your first step is still the same. You have to move minus 24 to the right. So you get positive 24 on the right. But now notice what your middle term is. It's an odd number. And if you find half of an odd number, it's going to be a decimal. What is the decimal form of half of 5? 2.5, yeah. So I need 2.5 squared, and then I'm going to add that to both sides. What's 2.5 squared?
6.25.
6.25. So you should add 6.25 to both sides. And now you can make a perfect square on the left. Remember, half of 5 is 2.5, and you have to use the sign from the middle. So it'll be x minus 2.5, that quantity squared, equals the sum of 24 plus 6.25. And this is it. Quantity squared of x minus 2.5, close the quantity, equals 30.25. Now find the square root of both sides. And you should have x minus 2.5 equals plus or minus 5.5. And now you solve it out to two different answers, just like before. you'll end up with 8 and negative 3. Remember, the key to it is to have one with 5.5 and another one with negative 5.5. Solve them both. 8 and negative 3 will be your answers. Practice, you're going to bring them up one step at a time. What I need to see first is when you move your constant to the right, what's left? What is step 1? Moving constants to the right. Do that step and bring it up here. Just walk by with it. Step 1, x squared minus 3x equals 40. Now you must find half of 3, square that, and then add it to both sides. Bring up that step now. Half of 3 is 1.5. Square that, you get 2.25. You must add it to both sides. You cannot subtract it. Yours had subtraction on it. Now you must make a perfect square on the left and simplify the right. Make a perfect square on the left, simplify the right, and walk through with this. You should have the quantity squared of x minus 1.5, close the quantity, and on the right 42.25. There should be no plus or minus sign yet because we have not found a square root. But that's what we're going to do next. Find the square root of both sides and then walk through with that. Alright, you should have x minus 1.5 equals plus or minus 6.5. Don't forget, this here is the same thing as x minus 1.5 times x minus 1.5. So if you find the square root, you just have one of those, and it still has to be a minus sign. Now, solve them both down to 2 answers and bring those up. Alright, so you should have had a positive 6.5 and a negative 6.5, and then solve each of them down. This one's going to be 8, and this one is a negative 5. If you forget to make this negative, and you do them both with the same thing, you'll have 2 answers that are alike. And also you have to make sure you have the right operation. Don't add this, or I'm sorry, don't subtract this from over here, because you're going to end up with the wrong answer. You have to do the opposite. That should be plus. And this should be plus. Don't make the mistake of doing 1 plus, 1 minus within the left side, because that's not where the plus minus is at. It's on the right side here. I'm going to give you a jump on this so you can have some time to start working on it in here. Or I'll give you the option of bonus problems that are order of operations for extra money. Do you want to do bonus problems, order of operations for bonus after you copy the homework, or do you want to work on the homework? Here it is. This will be on Facebook too.